What is up, YouTube? This is Swide from Hebrew Legends, and I want to make a video today called How to Surgical Hog. It is something that I've been working on for a number of weeks. Pretty much both my attacks in war for the last 8, 9 wars have been surgical hog attacks. Different deployment strategies, different troop compositions, different base styles. Lots of different stuff. I've compiled a lot of data, a number of replays that I'm going to be showing you guys today, and hopefully breaking down some of the otherwise confusing things about surgical hogging. There are a number of variations of surgical. I'm only going to be talking about a particular type of shattered today, but I think this is going to be a running series, so this will be the first episode. I'll kind of open up with some very general ideas about surgical hogging. It's going to be a pretty content-heavy video this time. I think I have 5 replays to show you guys. I know there are a number of people that love the replays. They learn from watching other people do things and kind of repeating them with their own variations. So I'll include a lot of those, but I'll also do voiceover. I'll talk about some of the things I'm particularly doing and my type of approach for surgical hogging. To get us going, let's talk first about what type of base is ideal for surgical hogging. This first video that I have up here is a replay from probably 7 or 8 wars back, and these are bases people don't typically surgical hog. It's a bad base. The double giant bombs are here and here. Teslas. I don't remember where Teslas are. I think there's a couple in the core. Maybe a couple out here. Don't know. But double giant bombs are here and here. Very accessible. Essentially, 3 or 4 hogs are going to negate both spots. Just taking out those cannons. And with the right pathing, your hogs are going to bounce around and just avoid those completely. It's a base most people would GoHo. Some people may Shattered Laloon. I mean, the air defenses are right next to each other. You could jump in, bring a couple golems, you take out the queen, the CC, and ideally you'd get 2 air defenses. And you probably would. But I just want to make a case for surgical hogging on bases like this. Because they're so compact, because there are very few places for spring traps where your hogs can go flying, you can take out a base like this very, very rapidly with surgical hogs. The replays I'm going to be showing today, and I'm going to start this one for us, they are all using the exact same strategy, give or take a troop. Sometimes I'll bring 3 giants, sometimes I'll bring 2, and I'll explain why in a second. But I always will have the same opening, and I want to talk about that. It's one variation of surgical hogging. It's a shattered surgical. It's probably the most common, but I tend to do it in a very particular way, and I do it every single time because it works on a vast number of bases. You'll see there, as soon as I get the CC pull, I drop a lightning on the CC troops. It is an essential part of the raid. This first shatter part where you drop a couple golems, you'll drop your queen. I drop 3 wizards on both sides to clear trash and create my funnel. With the new hero aggros, it's very, very important that you get a very wide funnel. You can see here I've really taken out about 1/3 of the base as far as the outer trash buildings are concerned. After I get the CC, I drop the king down. The golems are still tanking. And as soon as I kill the CC, I know that they're gone, and I know that the enemy AQ is done. I start dropping hogs. A giant first, followed by 3 hogs on each point defense. Occasionally I'll vary. I'll drop 2 in certain places, like I only dropped 2 on this mortar here, and then dropped a couple more. Mortars, especially isolated mortars, you only need 2 hogs on. They're not going to be able to shoot your hogs, and your other hogs are going to be able to do other stuff. So, but I mean, look at this. It's been about 1 minute and 40 seconds. I've got both heroes up. I probably have 18 hogs left, maybe more. And they're just going to clean up the base. Because of the troops I use, I always have 3 spaces left over. I tend to bring archers because they can attack any building. Sometimes it's the case that you're going to have an army camp in a corner and your goblins are going to start running for a storage that's inside the base, and that's not terribly helpful. So I tend to bring archers because I think they're more useful, but any troop will do. So this is the standard composition that I'm going to be using. 8 wizards, 2 golems, 1 out of the CC, 28 or 29 hogs, and 2 or 3 giants, 2 heal spells, 1 jump, and 1 lightning, and whatever cleanup troop you prefer. I've even brought a minion before. It's whatever you want. This is almost inevitably what I'm going to bring. I'm going to pull up another replay here, and we're going to talk this one through as well. And I'll kind of go into some more stuff here. This is from, I think, the same war, in fact. A little bit different base, obviously. But the key to these bases and most surgical hogging is approachable point defenses. And what I mean by that is defenses that are lined up in such a way that you can deploy small surgical packs of hogs one at a time at them and have them path to those particular defenses. So in this case, how these defenses are lined up allows very easily for surgical hogs to be sent in. Send a pack here, 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 here. You'd probably even get some here, there, and there. And there's even a cannon down here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but you could drop some down there as well. There's no tricky deployment because of this. When I say approachable, I basically mean that your hogs are going to go to the defense that you intend them to go to. There are lots of ways to stack defenses to make it problematic, to make it difficult to put troops, in this case hogs, sending them where you want them to go. But bases that have defenses lined up like this and on the outside make it remarkably easy to drop certain packs of hogs to certain defenses. The next step to that, in what you want to look for in bases, are, of course, double giant bomb spots. Here's a double. Here's a double. I suppose there could be a double in here, but probably not. You want to make sure that when your hogs are pathing from those initial defenses on the outer side, on the outer ring, that they are going to path up and over into groups that will then be able to converge on a heal spell over bomb spots, if that makes sense. So your hogs always are going to start separately, and you want them converging as a pack on heal spells to then move on to the next portion of defenses. You only have 2 heal spells, so you have to be very careful about where you place them. A normal GoHo, you can have 3 or 4 heals, but in a surgical hog attack, you only ever have 2 because you have to have the lightning for the CC. It's an essential part of the raid. If you're concerned about it, go watch our lightning spell vid. But as you can see here, I'm doing the same thing. 2 golems in, jump spell into the queen. As soon as I get the lure, I'll go ahead and drop a lightning spell followed by the king. 3 wizards will go down on each side every time, and you're going to lose 2 out of 3 of those, and that's okay. A couple will go into the center and help, but you don't need them. They're just for cleaning trash. As soon as the AQ goes down, I bring the hogs. I drop 3 down here because not a lot of point defenses there. I only drop 2 on this cannon, 3 here, and then a giant. The giant is always only to tank for your hogs. When you drop a giant, they're going to be going for the wall, and you know every single time that they aren't going to be doing any damage. All they're doing is absorbing damage for your hogs. So you have to be careful about when you bring giants. A common mistake of surgical hogging is people bringing too many giants. The giants just sit out here like this one does and bang against a wall. In this case, this giant has maybe 1 shot of health left, so I would still say that's a good choice. Giants have roughly 1.75, even 2 times the health of hogs, I think. So they're tanky. And if you can, basically the rule of thumb is if you can send a giant that'll protect a couple packs of hogs and will draw fire from 2 to 3 point defenses, maybe even a mortar, it's a good choice because of the fact that your hogs you'll otherwise lose a hog by the time you're approaching those point defenses. Because you are dropping your hogs in those surgical packs, 3-on-1 cannon, 3 on an archer tower, 3 on a wizard tower. I'll open up another replay here. It is the case that each set of those hogs is going to be taking a lot of damage. When you send a GoHo, a huge pack, maybe a 2-finger drop, there's only 2 hogs at the front of the pack that are essentially tanking for those defenses, and the rest are safe. But in this case, because you're spreading your hogs out so widely, lots of hogs are taking a lot more DPS than they normally would in a standard GoHo. So the giant is there to ensure that your hogs get to the defenses to start doing damage before they are taking damage. If you have, in this case, if I was dropping hogs here, and let's say this Expo is already down, I would not send a giant probably. If this is the only defense I'm trying to get or something, I wouldn't send a giant because it wouldn't be worth the lost hog. Every giant you bring is a hog you cannot bring. So every time I'm only bringing 2 giants, I'll have 29 hogs. In this case, I'm bringing 3 giants, so I have 28 hogs. They go hand in hand. You want to bring as many hogs as possible because if they fail, your whole raid fails. They are your firepower. They're also your cleanup troops. They have to last until the end, or you're potentially going to be running out of time. They're essential to the raid. So you have to be careful about how many giants you're bringing. I kind of go by, if I can send a hog and it will path to a defense before it dies and get 1 swing on it, you don't need a giant. Because if you bring a giant, then it's getting no swings on the defenses. And even if, the giant tanks for a couple hogs the entire time, you're losing DPS, if that makes sense. Your main goal in a surgical hog is to net DPS. And the giants, in this case, only help you do that. When there are 3 point defenses in a place like this, I'll play this replay here. Sorry about that. It's more essential to bring a giant when there are more point defenses, more splash damage all hitting you at the same time. And you'll see that in a second here. Again, same exact entry. 2 golems tanking for the cleanup, for the trash cleaning whizzies. As soon as the CC comes out, king goes down. King takes out the queen. Lightning spell always takes out the witch in the CC. Queen takes out any balloons that might be in there. And then hogs go down. The giant first, in this case, because there's 3 point defenses and a mortar. You ideally, just like that, want that giant to die as your hogs are taking out the first layer of point defenses and moving on. That's a good trade. Same thing just happened here. These hogs take out these point defenses just as that giant goes down. And so you're basically trading 1 unit space, the giant, for the 2 or 3 hogs that would have died had it not been there. There are times when you're going to bring a giant and the defenses are going to start targeting something else. It happens. But you have to be patient. You have to drop a giant, let him start taking fire, and then drop the rest of your hogs. One of the things I want to point out very quickly is that surgical hogging is just going to take practice. I've been doing it for a number of weeks. My first few attacks were completely useless, basically. They did not go particularly well. But you start getting the hang of it. You start seeing, okay, if a Tesla pops here, I'll need a couple extra hogs, so I just have to watch out for that. If a spring trap hits a few of these hogs, I'm going to have to send a few over here because they'll path back around. They're all things you have to take into account. So on a base like this, on these more popular bases, these kind of dragon flower type layered square bases, they're more difficult, but they're very susceptible to surgical hogs because of how distant the point defenses and other defenses are from each other. And because they have to cover so much space, you're able to send in packs of hogs that don't take a lot of damage, and sometimes you don't even need as many giants, which means you can send more hogs. The beauty of surgical hogging is that because there's so many double giant bomb spots, there's usually 4. In this case, his queen's in here, so there's not really 4. I guess there could be a bad one right there. Your hogs are going to, generally speaking, trip one at a time. The ideal is that you send 3 hogs in per defense, we'll say on this side. And because of the vertical placement of these bomb positions, how they're imperfect, your hogs will path up and in this case, into other defenses, right? If you were just dropping 2 packs, they'd path around and potentially enter it from the side where they trip both at the same time. But because of surgical hogging, you are able to deploy in such a way where you destroy the other path that your hogs may have taken. So if you drop hogs here, let's say you're dropping a giant here to tank for these. You drop hogs here, you let them destroy this cannon, and then they go here. Then you drop your hogs on these 2 defenses. Your hogs are going to destroy these. These ones will start heading this way. This wizard tower will go down. They'll path over here, but these hogs are going to head into the center and trip that giant bomb. Again, you're always in a hog attack trying to approach double giant bomb positions perpendicular to their placement. In other words, you want to trip one at a time. These positions are awful. You can almost always trip one at a time. I will play this for you. These next 2 attacks, this one included, are attacks where things didn't go quite well, and I want to just talk about why. Again, I open with the exact same concept. 2 golems, 3 wizards on either side, queen behind, cleaning the trash. I brought bombers in this case. I couldn't quite get to the queen with 1 jump spell. I could have here, but the wizards of your attack are going to help clear these first layer of defenses, just like your queen will. So I didn't want to just drop a jump here, get into the queen. I wanted my wizards to take out some of these other defenses. One reason surgical hog attacks fail is because your hogs are spread too thin. With your shattered portion of your attack, you ideally are going to get the queen, the clan castle, and generally speaking, 6 defenses or so. I like to think of it as about 1/3 of the base if you're separating them into thirds. With your shattered portion, you have to get 1/3 of the base, or your hogs, generally speaking, are going to be spread too thin to do the rest of the cleaning. I'll continue to play this here to show where things start kind of going wrong in this raid. I brought too many bombers, so they bomb that golem in, and then they come over here and bomb my queen into a different compartment. That was problem number 1. I'm not getting the CC lure at this point. This king was taken out by the wizards. I should have dropped a couple extra wizards over here, but I didn't do that. I thought the golem, the level 5 golem, would tank while the wizards took him out, and he did, but he split before he got here. I get the witch, no problem, the rest of the CC. The king goes in. The queen is now down. My queen started getting targeted by this X-bow, so I had to use her ability early, and that was a problem. I'm trying to protect my king here, so hogs start going down. Giants in front. This giant, you can see here, is only about half health, and that's a bad giant. If I had sent a hog in instead, he would have got a couple shots in, maybe even stayed alive because of the extra DPS, and moved on with the rest of the hogs. I was trying to basically draw fire from these 3 defenses, but because my king is in here and I raged him and he's got all these barbs hanging around, they drew the fire instead of the giant. So it's something you have to be very careful about. This giant you can see over here has gone down just as these hogs hit this cannon, and are just about to take it out. So that's a good giant. Another one goes down up here. Again, this one probably not needed. Should have brought another hog. As these hogs path up and in, this pack hits a double giant bomb set, but it doesn't matter because I have so many hogs in so many separate places that, it's okay. This deployment was bad. I originally was coming from this side, but because my queen went down early, my king was over here, I wanted to protect him as much as possible, so I switched my deployment to clockwise. As far as deployment is concerned, you generally speaking want to approach a base if you are, again, separating this base into thirds. You want to hit the base from the more difficult side first, generally speaking, if you can, or the side where you can most easily approach a double giant bomb position. So in my case, I would have come from this side first and done what I had drawn earlier, and came from this side, let my hogs hit these first layer of defenses and hopefully trip these one at a time with heal waiting on them to all come together and then move through the base, tripping one at a time again. But that didn't happen, and as you saw, I kind of paid the price. I lost probably 6 hogs up here. I lost 3 or 4 hogs down here. Lost a fair number of hogs because of that. Each time you're thinking about doing a surgical, one of the things that I consider is the path each group of hogs is going to take. That takes a lot of planning, so you have to be willing to put the work in. But it pays dividends. You get these attacks almost always under 2 minutes, unless you mess something up, which, happens from time to time. This is another kind of poorly designed Dragonflower type spread base, which is great for surgical hogging. Golems, again, in. 3 wizards to clean the trash, 3 wizards to clean the trash. Queen goes down. And this queen is pretty far exposed, so didn't need bombers, just bring a jump spell right in. Anytime you can just bring a jump to address the queen is ideal. The CC starts coming out, so here comes the king. That queen saves my king from wandering around, which was excellent. Lightning spell goes down right on the witch. Takes her out, no problems. These wizards are doing work. Everything's going well. Giant goes down here. Few hogs. Again, hogs here, giant, then more hogs, giant, and then trying to backtrack with some hogs. I believe this was a first attack, but because I saw no Teslas pop here, no Teslas pop here, I knew there were going to be Teslas in here. When I scouted it, I really thought there were going to be 3 Teslas in here and 1 Tesla here, or here, or here. And I just didn't know where. So I sent a few extra hogs in on this side, knowing that even under a heal, a double Tesla will take out a hog, and thinking there were going to be 4 in one small area. So you saw me kind of backtrack and send like 3 more hogs right here. Had to do it just because of the amount of DPS coming at him. I heal there. Fine. This guy had bad double giant bomb positions, and I'm going to heal my hogs here again. At the end of this raid, I've got, probably 10 hogs, 8 to 10 hogs, and 2 full health heroes. Because these compact bases that don't make it hard to send hogs at a number of point defenses at once, that allow you to target a number at once with just packs of 3 hogs, that's kind of your ideal base. That's really what you're looking for. I am going to, if I may, go back to the very first video that we showed and just point out a couple closing thoughts. Again, this is your kind of ideal base for surgical hog. Surgical hogs were invented to take out that spaced Dragonflower type Town Hall 9, the anti-3 with spread air defenses, so it's not Laloonable in lots of double giant bomb positions, which makes it hard to GoHo, at least on a first try, till you find out where they are. But Hogs also work very well, despite what a lot of people think, on these very compact bases. Strictly because a giant can tank for the high DPS, one giant can tank for all of this, or in this case, all of this, and your Hogs are going to get there so quickly, and you'll be able to target them so efficiently that when they move up, you'll have a heal waiting on them on the giant bomb positions. And because you have, in this case, let's say 3 Hogs on each defense, taking roughly 4 different paths to the next layer, pathing over 4 different areas, maybe pathing over empty space where double giant bombs could be, you have a much greater chance to have more Hogs survive than you do if you send them in one huge group. That's surgical hogging in a nutshell, guys. Of course, it's only this one variation, the Shattered with 8 wizards and 28 Hogs and a few giants. There are lots of other variations, but I just wanted to open up some fundamental concepts and institute a few basic ideas to get the ball rolling. I hope this was helpful. Leave any questions that you may have in the comments or drop a line on our Twitter, and I will try to address those as best I can, maybe in the next video. Until next time, guys, this is Swide from Hebrew Legends. You guys have a good one.